10th of September 2024. Mark this day in F1 history as the day Fernando Alonso wins his third F1 title in 2026. And the reason for me saying this is we have had news that Adrian Newey is going to be going to Aston Martin for the start of 2025 and onwards. So let's talk about it. And I think we first of all have to talk about the contract because there's quite a lot to talk about. First of all, his contract will be 5 years. So it's a pretty long contract. So he's going to be doing the exact same thing he did at Red Bull, but now at Aston Martin. But here's the thing. I very much do agree that he has gone to Aston Martin because he has a lot of passion. We know he has a lot of passion. He's been in this sport for years. But he's getting to the end of his career and 100% that Big Daddy Stroll money has come in and swayed his opinion. He could have gone to Ferrari, he could have gone to McLaren, he could have gone anywhere. He could have gone back to Williams, but the money just wasn't there. And Aston Martin have a lot of it. His base salary for the next 5 years will be £20 million. And with bonuses applied, will be £30 million a year. That is potentially £150 million over the next 5 years. He is going to be raking in the cash. And honestly, it's one of those things, I can't blame him for this. Because he's worked with McLaren, he's worked with Williams, he's worked with Red Bull, he's worked with a lot of big names. And Aston Martin are trying to become a big name in F1. They've had a pretty bad last year or so. Their 2023 was immaculate though. So it's understandable. There's a project there, there's a lot of money, and Adrian Newey himself gets a lot of money for it. But the big upset for one team is Red Bull. Of course, we knew he was leaving Red Bull earlier this season. Now, of course, we didn't know too much who it was going to be constructor-wise who was going to. But we did know that Aston Martin was up there. I think realistically it was between Ferrari and Aston Martin. But of course, it looks like Aston Martin just brought more money onto the table. But this is big for F1 and Red Bull because he's been there since the start of Red Bull's venture in 2006. And he's been through some highs and lows with the team, winning 6 championships and 7 Drivers' World Championships in the span of 19 years. So his CV is just immaculate. I mean, when he was at Williams, he made the championship car for 1992, 93, 94, 96 and 97. Then he moved to McLaren and won the championship again in 98. And then, of course, he had his Red Bull venture winning in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 22 and 23. Because, of course, yes, Verstappen did win the 2021 Drivers' World Championship. However, Mercedes won the Constructors that season. But all in all, for Red Bull, I think this is the time for them to part ways. Obviously, there's been a lot of controversy around Red Bull, the decline in form as well. I think this is the best time Adrian Newey has to leave Red Bull and go to another team because he is 65 now. This will probably be the last team he goes to. I doubt he's going to be wanting to work going into his 70s. So I think Aston Martin is where he's going to finish off and try to get Alonso that third world championship. He could try getting Stroll one, but I think there's more chance of me getting that Aston Martin seat than Stroll actually winning a championship, let alone a race even in the fastest car on the grid. But then another big thing is, of course, that there's the 2026 new regulations. Again, so Adrian Newey will be coming in 2025 and it's sort of going to be a write-off season for him. He'll get to grips with the team, he'll work on the car, but I think they're going to be fully focused on 2026 because of, as we know, the cars basically get a full reset. There's going to be no DRS anymore, so there's going to be a new system in place, and this is the time to bring in someone like Adrian Newey. We saw with the new regs in 2009, that's where Red Bull really had their boost in pace, because he got everything right aerodynamically. So I think for Aston Martin, perfect time to bring him in. They've just got to get it right, and no doubt in my mind they will. Will they win the championship? It's going to be difficult because we've had the rise of McLaren, Ferrari are looking pretty good, Mercedes always do well these days now, and even still Red Bull to this day. They're not going to let Adrian Newey leave and not have a valuable replacement coming in. So it's going to be difficult for Red Bull, of course, but I think they'll have it under control. So I think if Aston Martin can push up the field again, it's 2 great years ahead of us. 2025 already looks amazing for different reasons, but 2026 is looking really, really exciting as well. But the final thing I want to talk about with this Adrian Newey situation is it's not really a big surprise. Like I said, we knew it was going to be Ferrari or Aston Martin. I was hoping it would be McLaren, but it is what it is. It was a pipe dream over there. But like I've mentioned multiple times in this video, A lot of money coming in for Aston Martin. Adrian Newey comes to the end of his career. There's really no better way to do it. But now for my opinions on the whole thing. And overall, for me, it's a great move for F1. I really do think this levels out the field even more. Like I mentioned, we could have 5 top cars coming into 2026. I don't think Aston Martin will be there for 2025. They might get a bit of pushing up the field again like we saw in 2023, but nothing too crazy. But for me, this is just what the sport needs, because when you're at a team for a long time, of course they're going to have a lot of championships, especially with Red Bull and Adrian Newey. So getting rid of that partnership is going to level out the field. Then again, it's good he hasn't gone to a team like Ferrari, Mercedes or McLaren, because they seem to have their shit together anyway. So going to a team like Aston Martin brings them up the field again. And I'm hoping other teams can follow suit. But of course, without Adrian Newey, it's going to be a little bit difficult. But overall, he's getting a lot of money. Fair play to him. 100% understand why. He's going to Aston Martin. It's not the biggest name in F1, but it is a big name in motorsport. So of course, he's going to be excited being there. And 100% he's going to love the project. And I know I joked about it at the start of the video, but if Fernando Alonso can legitimately win a 3rd championship in his 40s, what a story that will be, considering his last championship, if he does win it in 2026, will have been 20 years ago. That would be a story that writes itself. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all later for another F1 related video. Bye bye.